Yeah, it is another episode of the Autumn Windbags. RJ Clifford, Juan Soto. Let's have some fun today. 1 day late. Apologies, Windbags. Couldn't be helped. Was traveling.
Apologize to them.
Was flying there and flying here. I got home last night. I was home for 20 hours. Did my Sirius show. Now I'm in Vegas at New York, New York. If you hear people screaming in the background, no, I don't have people trapped in my closet. It's the roller coaster literally right going by my window, but better late than never. Thank you, Soto, for being patient with me. What a guy. What a team.
I tried.
What a guy. Well, we didn't require a lot of patience to make Maxx Crosby. Let the rich be even richer. Oh, Maxie, baby. Las Vegas Raiders, according to Adam Schefter, are signing Pro Bowl DN Maxx Crosby to a 3-year, $106.5 million extension. Includes 91.5 guaranteed. 91 guaranteed. That's crazy. Making him the highest paid non-quarterback in NFL history. So it's an extension. So we still have the next 2 non-guaranteed years and then 3. So we have him for the next 5. He's 27, so we have him till 32. I think it's perfect timing. I think probably 32, 33-ish is where you kind of want to see where alignment is physically. I think it's a safe bet that Max will be fine and only getting better until like 32. So I think the timeline works great. And he's even richer. Soto, not a bad guy to be.
It worked out really well for everyone involved. I mean, we got it out of the way. And, I think most of us that kind of knew what was going on and kind of figured, and we all figured, most of us figured that the talk that he had was more of a posturing and kind of a negotiation in the media, which is
Sure.
fine. I mean, you're going to use everything that's available to you, which is fine. And also, you set a good example to not only your team and your players, but also team players from other teams, that if you're a good player for us, if you don't give us a headache and you play well and you do what you're supposed to do and you're a leader, you're going to get paid. And they're not going to wait for you to, we're not going to do the whole franchise tag and string it out, whatever. No, we're going to pay you. Yeah. And that's what you want to do. Like you don't want to draft and develop players just to watch them walk away. You want to sign your best players.
Yeah. If you're Spytech, if you're Carroll, if you're Tom Brady, you're who's ever, whatever percentage of decision making in this, trifecta is, right? Mm-hmm. You don't want to be this new organization and then immediately be in a long drag out war with your best player, the fan friendly guy. Like he's the heart and soul of the Raiders right now. You don't want to immediately be in like one of these with him right away. You're like, okay, let's get this done. Let's make a statement. And this goes back to like people being like, oh, Max is complaining. Shut up. This is BS. If he wants to trade, get him out of here. It's like, guys, if Maxx Crosby doesn't have the right to vent about how bad the Raiders have been since he's been here, then who the fuck does? Like, if the guy that's working the most hours, being the most efficient, making the most plays, sacrificing the most to make the team better, if he doesn't have a right to be like, we've sucked, guys, since I've been here. Like, can we do something different? Can we please be better? Then who the fuck has a right to complain? So, like, I'm with you. I think it was mostly contract negotiations. He's not dumb. But I think a little bit, Max has earned the right to vent a little bit. Okay? Like, he's earned the right.
Yeah, I think it was a sprinkle of each, and it just makes a lot of sense. It makes a lot of sense. It kind of it gives yourself the ability to set your kind of like the framework for your salary cap moving forward. It's a great move by Spytech because other than the quarterback, this is going to be your highest paid player, one of the premium 5 positions, and you get it out of the way. And it may seem like it's a lot now, but in a year or two, it's not going to be like a lot because you wanted to get this done before Myles Garrett got done because it was just going to be more. It was just going to be more in that. And then Hendricks, there's going to be like a lot of guys that are going to be coming up soon. The Micah Parsons is coming up. Like it's a lot, man. It's a lot going to happen right now. So it just makes sense on a lot of levels that to just get it done now, not only financially, but also culture-wise. optics wise for your players and also players from other teams. It just made a lot of sense, and it just shows us the maturity of the leadership right now of what you should do and how you should do it. You don't just throw money at at Trent Brown and throw money at Littleton, throw money at Kwiatkowski. Like, you don't just throw money around to players who are just kind of like middling guys. Like, your better players, your best guys, take care of those guys for sure.
Yeah, I love the move early for all the reasons. I mentioned all the reasons. You mentioned, of course, GM-wise, that's just smart because, like, he's the highest paid non-quarterback in NFL history for about a week.
Yeah.
Seriously. Like, I'm not joking.
There's literally 5 guys right now that are going to surpass him in the next week or two.
The over, like, seriously, like, no joke, like 3 days? It could literally be tomorrow that he's passed up as the highest paid player. I'm going to say 3 days. I'm going to say it's 3 days. But yeah, it's like when Derek Carr was the highest paid quarterback, highest paid player in NFL history. Matthew Stafford got his deal like 2 weeks later.
Literally like 3 days later.
Yeah. So getting it done early, smart by Spytech. And I also love what you said. It's the same thing I've been saying forever. It's just like I've had to watch all of like the rare, amazing, like the rare time we crush a draft pick and watch that guy leave. Like over and over and over. And Khalil Mack leaving, Derek Carr leaving for nothing, Hunter Renfrow, which we'll get to later, spearing off to no man's land, just like Josh Jacobs going to the Packers. Like, even when I understand, okay, maybe it's time to move on, I just had like, I didn't want to feel this way. But watching Brock Bowers last season, I'm like, fuck, this guy's going to be a godsend for us for about 6 years. And then he'll be a Jet or something. I'm just like, fuck, man, why do I feel that way? Why can't I feel like, okay, this guy's, we have an amazing player with a fucking Raiders tattoo. He's going to stay here. And he's staying here, again, anything can happen, but it just feels so good to be like, to throw my heart and soul into a player and finally feel like I'm not going to have to like root against him one day when he plays against us.
Yeah, the whole Josh Jacobs thing was they just let that go too long before extending him. You should have extended him after year 3. And year 3 wasn't that was his year. That was a pretty not a great year for him, I don't think, right? Or
yeah. Year 3 wasn't great. Year 4, he was the rushing leader.
Rushing champion. So it's like that's when you want to do it, and it just shows like just lack of foresight, and just going in there and there's no reason to go into a situation and try to throw your weight around and just show people that I'm the boss. Mm-hmm. No, that's kind of what was going on at the time. That's the time that you want to extend him because you get him a little bit cheaper. Yeah, it seems like it's a lot of money right now, but like we talked about, in another 30 minutes or whatever, it's going to be a deal, right? And gives you the chance right now because, look, his deal that he has now is 2 years, 49 and change, right? 42 and change right now. The total of 5 years is about 150, 149 and 149.8 or something like that. So the next 2 years are, relatively cheap. The next 2 years are, about 4 to 21 million each. So it's not bad these next 2 years moving forward, maybe because with the cap space we have, we can, sneak a little bit of that these next 2 years coming up and, fiddle around with the money a little bit to give us a little bit of flexibility. I think it's, what is it, like 91 million guaranteed or something like that?
91.5 guaranteed.
Yeah. It's a pretty nice deal for him, dude. That's a pretty nice deal for him. Good for him. And look, it just goes to show, and in the press conference, one of the things that I really liked is everyone was echoing the same thing. Everyone was like towing the same line. This is not so much for what you've done, but what we expect from you moving forward. Mm-hmm. So this is like, we're paying you, but we're paying you because we expect X, Y, and Z.
Yeah.
And it's a very powerful tool to use because, it is a kind of a jab at someone's ego. You're doing really good, but you're being paid for what we expect from you moving forward. So they're like, okay, well, I can't let anybody down. I need to work even harder.
This isn't a thank you gift. This is a service is about to be rendered gift.
Yeah, we're paying ahead of time. And Max is the type of guy to do that too. And because he'll respond. This last season, it wasn't like he broke down and people were like, oh, well, he's breaking down. No, he's not. He got rolled up on, and he still played when he shouldn't have, and he got rolled up on again. It's like, it's shitty. It happens, but it sucks. It wasn't like we're going to talk. We'll talk about Cappa later, but it's a similar situation with Cappa. It's not like he had the same hamstring blowout on him 3 times. Like that's like, okay, this guy's breaking down. He got rolled up on his ankle, and he just couldn't bounce back. It's a little bit different. It's not more of a freak thing. It wasn't like the body breaking down thing.
Yeah, I haven't seen a whole lot negative on the signing. I think even casual Raiders observers, like this last year isn't indicative of Max. It was clearly an injury. Everyone around him was injured. Like he was trying to play defense by himself with half a wheel. And he still was productive. He still had, like, by defensive end standards, a good season. Not by his standards, but by, like, he was still, like, a good defensive end with no one around him and one wheel. So it's like, yeah, like this wasn't.
Yeah, 12 games, he's got like 7.5 sacks. He was one of the leaders in the NFL in pressures and tackles for loss. So it wasn't like he wasn't productive. And let's just be like, we're all adults here. A tackle for loss is just as good as a sack. It's a negative play that you're doing. It counts the same.
We're not all adults here, but you are correct. I think this is probably the opposite of adults. One last part on this. I do love keeping Patrick Graham. Maxx Crosby just got paid. All these other free defensive players as free agents. It's like, hey guys, like we're keeping everyone around. It's not one of those things like, hey, there's a new sheriff in town. It's like, let's disperse. It's like, no, like we all know what this crew is capable of. Like seriously, when was the last time we've had a defensive crew where you're like, okay, man, like Wilkins, Max, who's ever on the other? We have a lot of possible options on the other end. Keep Spillane, keep our DBs with Patrick Graham. They all know the system. 1 or 2 pieces away from legit top 10 unit, and one like a top 3 defensive line.
I think the defensive line is going to be what it should have been last season. It's going to be amazing. It's going to be a great, for sure, top 10, hopefully top 5 defensive line. We never saw the full complement. We never saw the defensive line with the depth that we've shown to have, plus the other edge outside opposite Maxx Crosby. The only time there's been 2 times that we've seen a legit guy opposite Maxx Crosby, and that's been the best that the defense and Maxx Crosby has played. There's the Unique Ngakoue season when Max really like exploded. He wasn't just a guy, oh yeah, this guy's a try-hard guy type of thing. No, he really exploded with his numbers. And then the last half of the season when he had Malcolm Kuntz and when Graham and Antonio Pierce were just like, okay, we're not going to keep trotting Tyree Wilson out there just to get blocked. We're going to put someone who's actually going to do something. And you add with that defense, who was, we saw the number 1 in takeaways, number 1 in points allowed. You add to that defensive line a Christian Wilkins. Yeah, it's going to be great. I mean, I wouldn't necessarily say we're going to bring back all the guys. We're going to bring back the best ones. And if there's better players out there in other positions, well, sorry Spillane, sorry Hobbs, sorry Merrick. If there's a better player out there, we're going to get them. And you shouldn't get caught in that spiral of he's the best guy we have, so we have to re-sign him. No, you get the best player that you can that fits what you're looking for. And if that happens to be a guy that, has played with you in the past, great. If it's someone else, then you get that someone else. And that's all about what I'm talking about with the adult mindset, the mature adult mindset. Like, yeah, great. He's great. I love Robert Spillane. He's awesome. He's shown that he's much better and much more than he showed he was with Pittsburgh. But is he one of the top linebackers in the league? I don't know. We'll have to figure that out. If there's someone else that's available who's better, you get them instead.
62.5 guaranteed at signing, 2025 salary plus 2026 salary, 29 million, 2027 salary, fully guaranteed, 3rd day of the league. active game bonus 46,000. What do you do with that kind of money? Like he's already almost got that.
You pay a lot of people.
Yeah,
There's a lot of people he's got to pay. Number one. After that, you just plug that money in to make more money.
Right. Lottery tickets.
Or
That's how the rich stay rich.
Butthole. One of the two.
Invest in lottery tickets. I think he's an investor in Power Slap. I know he's an investor in Bare Knuckle. He might be at Power. You guys are probably watching this on Friday. There's a Power Slap at Fontainebleau Friday and UFC 313 Saturday.
I just don't understand it, dude. I
will probably be at UFC 313. I'm gonna go find him. I'm gonna go down to the floor and try to find his ass.
I will never understand why Dana White is investing in Power Slap. And I just don't get what's the for the majority. I know that you and I have more of a jiu-jitsu background, but for the majority of people that watch MMA, they watch it for the stand-up. Right? Why not invest in a sport that's literally just that? The knees, the elbows, the clinching, the striking, what make it exciting. Do kind of what one championship is doing, and invest in a stand-up fight league and put money and resources behind it like you do the UFC, like you're doing freaking Power Slap, or what the hell it's called.
If Dana White asked me, he's like, RJ, you know what? Power Slap, it's run its course. You know, I'm ready to move on to something else. What should I invest in? What should I put like the UFC marketing and production muscle behind? What's a sport, activity, spectacle that you think could be huge? And I'm not joking. Sumo wrestling. You ever been to a sumo wrestling tournament?
I have not, but
dude, the US Open of sumo is at the Pyramid at Long Beach State every year. It's in May. Go.
I gotta go.
I'm working. I'll be out of town. Go. It is for like $20. You see like 25, 30 matches, and it's 300-pound dude, 300-pound dude. Go. Bam. Car crash. They bow. Next one up. 30 seconds later. 300-pound dude, 300-pound dude. Bam. Car crash. And they just fucking recycle these things. Get yourself some asahi. Get some sushi. It is fun as fuck. And you do some UFC laser light shows, Bruce Buffer announcing it. You do like the shoulder programming itself would write itself. It's like, hey, I'm a 450-pound guy. How do I go through the day? Like, oh, I have to drive an Escalade and I have this reinforced mattress. I eat 87,000 calories a day. Like,
I can't take an Uber regular. I gotta get an Uber Black. Like that one chick.
Just like it, the being that size.
Plus, I do like Asian chicks.
There's no loss here, bud. I'm telling you. Sumo wrestling.
RJ, if you ever have that meeting with freaking Dana White and you don't say freaking Muay Thai or a stand-up freaking league, I will be so upset with you.
You'd be upset because sumo, obviously, I love me some Muay Thai, man. Love me some Muay Thai.
I just don't get it. It's the most exciting part for most people of MMA, and there's no possibility of the boring ground game that people sometimes feel is boring. It's just a sumo wrestling
match is 7 seconds long. It's just pure action, and then they're on to the next one, and they're on to the next one, and it's like there's like a minute in between them, and it's just bam, it's just all action. You're on the edge. You're like, oh, that was amazing, and you finally recovered from some 380-pound dude doing a backflip off the platform, and there's another one.
Go ahead and look. What would you rather watch? Would you rather watch legit stand-up? I mean, way better than the stand-up you see in the UFC, or sumo wrestling. Well, let's let the people decide.
Let the people decide. And I if you haven't seen either, watch both. And I'm not saying highlights. Don't go to a highlight.
Watch actual shows. I really do like.
Sit down for 2 hours and watch an actual event and see which one you have more fun at.
I like what one's doing with the MMA gloves in Muay Thai.
On paper, one's awesome. It's just a super, just like shady business model. That's not.
Well, I mean, yeah, let's just come on, man. Let's just be adults about this. Okay, UFC isn't like pure as a driven snow. Okay.
Well, no, but they're publicly traded and they're not lying on financials. Like it's all.
I mean, I would lying and being creative. It's all a part of the same coin. I know you can't say anything. Please don't say anything.
We have the calculators that are in Pig Latin. When we do what we can.
Don't say anything, RJ. I know you work for him.
I know Raider Nation still thinks about Hunter Renfrow constantly. You know what's that meme, that X-Men meme where he's Wolverine's laying on his bed and he's holding the frame, and then it's like you'll put whatever in the frame. I feel like that's with Hunter Renfrow, and I know that because we made a short on Hunter Renfrow and his how like John Gruden wanted him to be like every little thing exactly this way. Hunter's like, well, I tried it that way, and it didn't work. When I added my own flavor to it, that's when he had the breakout year, 100 catch season, and got better. It's like, I'm under your system, John, but my body, I know how I work. Let me do it my
body,
way.
my choice.
Exactly, right? That's not John Gruden, I don't know who is. And so that's when he took off. We made a short about that. And for the last 18 months, 24 months, you guys are still like searching it, because like I'll see comments and views on that skyrocket, 10,000 views, 5,000 views, just randomly, because people are still YouTubing him, Googling him. Where the fuck is Hunter Renfrow? Like, how is he went like all pro one season and then 2 seasons later, like out of the league? Like, what the hell happened? Apparently he's not done and not retired. NFL Rumors Twitter account said, breaking, former Raiders wide receiver Hunter Renfrow has announced his retirement. It's like, oh, okay. Because he never announced anything, right? It wasn't like he's on IR or I'm retired or I'm searching for whatever. Like, you always hear agents will plant stories. Hunter Renfrow working hard in the offseason, working on his speed, ready to go. None of that. There was nothing. It was just crickets. And so Hunter Renfrow subtweeted, just when I thought about making a comeback, I get hit with this bombshell because I should have started working out again 2 months ago. So it sounds like, according to him, if he's not, which he's potentially joking, just fucking around because it's social media, he's working out to be ready to play again.
Good for him, man. It takes time sometimes, especially when with head injuries. I know there was a professional wrestler who had to retire. His real name is Brian Danielson. I think he wrestled under Daniel Bryan. And
real creative with the nickname.
Yeah, he
strained his brain.
He retired for a few years because he had really bad concussions and just wasn't getting better. Mm-hmm. And he was able to just kind of heal his brain after a few years away and came back, and I think he's still out there competing. So yeah, it's possible. I think more than anything,
that's been our guess, right? Like, there's been no medical anything. Like, we just kind of assumed when it's that quiet and you disappear, it's concussion. That's, you know what I mean? Like,
that's really the only thing he had. He didn't really have any, like, well, he had a back injury or like knee injury or anything like. There wasn't anything in any reports.
You didn't hear about like a surgery he had or
nothing. I didn't hear anything.
Rehab. This is, personal problems. It was nothing. It just really felt like concussion issues. Which, considering how the refs let defensive players fucking torpedo his ass as much as they want, it's not a surprise.
And he does come across as the type of guy who is a big picture type of guy. Hey, you know what? I got a family. I got a wife. I got a kid. I don't necessarily need to play football. Let me take a step back and see. And, if he's healthy, if he gets a clean bill of health from his own doctor, I know the NFL doctors, like Dr. Nick, but if he gets a clean bill of health from his own independent doctor that he's fine and ready to go, sure. If he's able to do it, I'm sure that the last year he played, he wasn't that good. I mean, he was noticeably slower off the line. He had a lot more drops. We'll see. I mean, maybe it's just a confidence thing, or he was feeling effects at the time. But hopefully, if he wants to, it's up to him. If he wants to come back and be a guy, third, fourth receiver on a team that needs him, I mean, yeah, that'd be great.
I don't like guys that have lives outside of football. I like guys that just go till the wheels come off. If I'm not a football player, what am I? What was his name on Any Given Sunday?
Steamin' Willie Beeman?
Yeah. What a sweet name.
Steamin' Willie Beeman.
It's like, if I'm not this, what am I doing? How sweet was Jimmy Woods in that show? He always, in that movie, just a skeezing doctor. He's so great.
Good, dude.
So fucking good. Just hitting on cheerleaders. Oh yeah, dope them up. Do this, do that. I know it's always an exaggeration, and like he's like a caricature.
I mean, is it?
But that
I wouldn't say so.
okay.
I wouldn't be so fast to say it's an exaggeration. I mean, I'm not saying it is. I'm not saying it isn't, but I wouldn't just go out and say it so quickly.
Like a caricature, you still know who it is, right? Like he's a caricature of something that exists. A bunch of little roster moves. Well, not some little, some bigger, some high pop possibilities. Tom Pelissero, the Raiders informed quarterback Gardner Minshew they'll release him when the new league year begins next Wednesday, per sources. No shocker here. He represents the 5th highest cap hit on the team. That's $14 million. The Raiders will save $6.3 million right away, according to Over the Cap. Part of me kind of feels bad for him. Like he sucked, but the Raiders also gave him almost no hope of succeeding with 0 run game. Luke Getsy's an atrocious offensive coordinator. It just wasn't going to work. No way, no how.
It just sometimes you just need a new coat of paint, man. It didn't work out here. He doesn't inspire much hope, and there really was no redeeming quality as far as him on the field, what he was doing in between the lines. There was just nothing there. If he can go somewhere else, maybe he goes back to the Colts, goes back to Steichen where he was successful. Go over there and help them out over there a little bit. They've been saying that they're looking for competition for Anthony Richardson out there, and he did do well over there with them. Maybe he'll go back there and do great things, but it just wasn't going to happen here.
It's a shame because like the van, the way he talked, it all went south when he ate his boogers. That's when he was like, okay, dude, you can't have that, man. You can throw 1,000,000, you can throw 1,000 picks, and I can find a way to forgive you. You pick your nose and
dude, you can break down tape and explain almost anything away. You can't explain away just freaking taking a big steamer out of your nose and eating it.
Not possible. Not a roster move, but maybe one. We have yet to talk about this, Soto, so I'm very curious what you make of this. DK Metcalf reportedly requested a trade. It seems like the Raiders could be a potential option. 27 years old. The Athletic Diana Rossini reported that the Seahawks are looking for a first pick and a 3rd round pick. Of course, that's you ask high and hope to meet somewhere in the middle. Josina Anderson reports there is a team willing to give at least a 3rd round pick for Metcalf. Now he will need a new deal. I think $30 million per year is probably kind of sort of might where it will be. You, I, and all of Raider Nation loves Jacoby Myers, but love him as wide receiver too. We need a true X. And who's more of a true X than a fucking wide receiver that's built like Adonis? Like he makes The Rock look small.
Yeah, he comes with a lot, and it's definitely a commitment. And if anyone's going to bring him in with any type of confidence, it's going to be Pete Carroll, the guy that drafted him, and the guy who he played his best under. Let's just not turn a blind eye to something here. He's led the league in drop percentage like the last 3 years. If you combine it, he's led the league in drop percentage. He's led receivers in penalties and penalty yards. He's a head case. He's a freaking head case, and you just have to know what you're getting into when you get a DK Metcalf. There's a reason why he was as dominant as he was in college, and he didn't get drafted till 2nd round. He was top 5 talent. Everyone knew it, but no one wanted to deal with him. And Pete Carroll was able to do that because that's just who he is. Can he do it again? I don't know. I don't know that you necessarily give a player like that $30 million. I think that's something that needs to be, because it's again, when you give somebody that money, and just like Spytek and Carroll and Crosby to an extent were saying during the press conference, it wasn't just on the field. It was everything. It was the leadership. It's the example that he sets. It's everything. That's why you get that money. That's why you get that big money. And DK Metcalf really hasn't been any of those things the last couple of years. he's flashed, right? He has physical tools, but he hasn't produced all that well. He hasn't been good for the team, and he's just his skills, his demonstration of his skills has not been great.
There's two for sure signs that a dude's a wild card: a neck tattoo and a nose ring,
and two-tone hair.
Like, you just look at that guy and you're like, okay, this guy's a wild card. Now, is it worth the price of admission? Right? That's the question, right? Like, okay, like you turn a blind eye to some things if you can produce. And yeah, he's not a elite number one wide receiver. Like, there's guys pushing the 35, 40 million. That's not him. He's more like 30, which is still a lot. And he's good, right? But he's just a notch below like the Justin Jefferson, the elite of wide receiver. So there's that. Everything you're saying is true. Pete Carroll seems to be the type of guy that can wrangle that, right? That he should be able to run an organization in a good locker room that won't be quite as big of an issue as it could be for other teams, right? Now, are we a team? Now, he says he wants to go to a more competitive place. He doesn't have a no trade clause in his contract. So it's, how much power he has on where he goes is debatable. So it would be Pete Carroll / Tom Brady convincing him, hey, we're going to get a guy. You're going to line up alongside Jacoby Myers and Brock Bowers. We're going to get our quarterback. Chip Kelly's giving him $6 million. He's going to make it happen. There'll be some convincing, but I would absolutely give him $30 million a year and trade a third for him. I think that we got an extra third. We got the cap space. I will roll the dice on him being a head case and take a couple extra penalties for close to wide receiver 1 elite production.
Yeah, you have to take a look at what other receivers went for. Because Debo just went for a 5th, and he's making in the mid-20s.
Mm-hmm.
And I think they have a similar amount of time, years left on their current deals. They have a couple of years left on their current deal. So they're in the same situation where you're going to have to redo the contract or extend the player if you're going to trade for him. But I would say a four with a high and the high 20s. I think
4 would be amazing.
I think that's more doable. I think that's more doable for what, because look, he is a true X, and that's different. I mean, if you want to take a look at how much different that is on a football field, that's the guy. If you're in like a trip set, that's the guy by himself that has to win one-on-one. He doesn't have any help, any route combination or any of that stuff helping him get open. It's just him against the best corner, and he needs to get open more often than not. And that's the type of guy that DK Metcalf is. So, yeah, there's that. But, I mean, there's also the going rate for things. And right now, it doesn't seem like – I mean, us getting a freaking third for the carcass of Devontae Adams, it just seems like a steal now. Yeah, we saw what Debo went for. But, yeah, I would say if we just take a look at what Debo went for, a four, about a 4.
Well, obviously, Debo was coming off an atrocious year of the holdout and dropsies, and Debo completely tanked his value.
Take a look at what DK did. His value is at an all-time low too.
Not as bad as Debo, but then Devontae was coming off of a bad year and being disgruntled and all that, so that tanked his value. You look like Diggs. They got traded for a first, but he had 2 years left of like a very team-friendly deal, so that's really why the pick went higher. Devontae, when the Raiders picked him up, was a first and a second, but he was coming off of like 3 straight all-pro seasons. So it was like he was at the peak of a time for him to go. DK's in the middle somewhere, right? Between, the Debos and, these elite guys. So we'll see where the market goes. The Raiders would be stupid to not at least kick the tires and see what's going on
for sure
over there, acquiring talent. Michael Mayer, the kind of lost tight end in all of this. According to The Athletic, the Raiders have had discussions with teams who have interest in tight end Michael Mayer. Mayer hasn't had the impact the Raiders hoped for when he was drafted in the second round in 2023. He had just 27 catches for 304 yards and 2 touchdowns in 14 games as a rookie. And as we all remember, he missed 6 games due to personal reasons this last season. And then, we have God's gift to tight end and Brock Bowers. that's taking over TN1 spot. I don't know how I feel about this. I think because Brock is such a unique person, I could still see Michael Mayer being like the tight end one, like an actual like tight end, while Brock is fucking all over the place, right? H-back, X, just Chip Kelly just like jizzing on the wall of what he can do with Brock Bowers and having Mayer be tight end one. But if the Raiders are shopping him, plus that personal issues thing last season, and they're like, you know what, we don't think this thing's done. It's get what you can for him as soon as you can. If they think whatever those issues were aren't resolved yet.
There's that, and there's also just the fact that does Mayer fit what Chip Kelly wants to do? There is a ton. I'm talking like well into the late round, 6th, 7th round. You're going to be able to get a quality tight end slash H-back in the draft this season. Mm-hmm. There's a ton of guys, a lot. That's one of the biggest, deepest classes in the draft coming up. There's interior offensive line, interior defensive line, running back, and the tight end H-back position. So you have to take a look at a couple different things. He's coming up on trying to get paid. Like after this season, I think you have one more, right? It's going to be the third season.
This will be his third year. Yeah.
Yeah. So this after this year is the year that you need to think about, hey, do you want to extend the guy or whatever? He hasn't shown you much, right? He has a lot of good tools and he's a good player, but he hasn't put it together yet. He missed a lot of time last season. How much of that is carried over? Can he be trusted to kind of keep everything together to be a productive member of the team? Do you even want to deal with it? That's not your problem. You didn't draft the guy. You don't have any ties to the guy. And there's a lot of other guys available at his position. So there's a lot going on. So, I understand it. And you want to, if you don't want to, the last thing you want to do is have him pull another thing again like he did last season and have a bad statistical season and miss some time due to personal reasons. Then he'll have zero value in the marketplace.
That's the only thing here. Would we get anything for him? Like, what are we going to get for him?
6.
Swapping a 6th and a 7th or something? Like, kind of pennies?
He doesn't make a lot of money. He doesn't make a lot.
I'd kind of rather have his production. He is still the best blocking tight end we have.
Okay, but hang on a second. Let's take a step back because I like that you said that. He's the best blocking tight end we have. Are there better blocking tight ends out there who can give us the same production he's been giving us? That's the question you have to ask.
Yeah, probably. We can get him.
Yeah, probably. There's probably quite a few who can give the production. Maybe they're not as talented, but again, I don't care about talent. I care about production, right? Because Darren Waller was talented. The last few years, there wasn't a lot of production there. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, he's the best that we have at that of doing that. But is there more available out there who can do just as good a job or maybe even better?
Yeah, I was looking forward to what Chip Kelly could do with them because he's been in just atrocious offensive situations, and yeah, we'll see if we get something good for him. Best of luck to you, Michael. Happy trails, but I'd rather keep him unless we get something good for him. And lastly, not a big signing, but I know you were really excited about this. Alex Cappa is coming to the Raiders, former Bengal, played in the Super Bowl. Guard. He had an off year last season, but he's getting paid $11 million for 2 years. That's starter-ish. That's expensive rotational or starter money.
Yeah.
So is he really the best we can do as a starting guard?
Well, I'll tell you what. He's a good benchmark. Because if someone beats him out, they're really good. Mm-hmm. Because he's a starting guard in the NFL. He's not on this team he can start. Like, no. Dylan Parham took a huge step back last season. Mm-hmm. Andre James just hasn't progressed the way we need him to. We have glaring opportunity and need in the interior of our offensive line. And it's time that we hold these guys accountable. Yeah, there's not a situation where that's optimal, but no situation is optimal.
Yeah,
and you got to like I'm saying, we have to stop looking at these situations in terms of the best that we have and instead we have to take a look at it as the best we can get. And if we get Alex Cappa, see, I'm allergic to bad offensive line play. If we had get an Alex Cappa, because Alex Cappa was teetering a top 20 rated guard in the league his whole career until last season when he got a concussion and he was kind of in and out of the lineup.
Mm-hmm.
So it was injury that really caused his play issue. It wasn't him dropping off of a cliff. If we get Alex Cappa on the offensive line and someone beats him out, then that guy is really good. And he's a legit starting player that would start for most teams in the NFL. If Alex Cappa ends up being the starter, well, he's a solid starting guard in the NFL. So I think it's a good benchmark. And if he ends up being depth on your offensive line, that's great. That means you have a great offensive line.
30 years old. There's still a little life in there. I hope he gets those long flowing locks back. He's been cutting it shorter. I want to do this though.
Maybe that was the issue.
Yeah, I want hair coming out of the helmet. That's just me. Ready to do some what up Windbags?
Yes, sir.
George Collard, 7650. Matthew Stafford is this week's Ben Johnson. Kind of ended up that way, right? Got all hot and bothered about it. Reports are saying maybe it could happen. And then it all comes crashing back down to life. Look, I liken this to you texting me. You're like, man, I feel used and abused with this Matthew Stafford thing. The way I look at it as it's like hitting on a chick at the bar. What do we lose? You pursued him. It was 45 minutes of spy text time saying like, all right, Stafford. Yeah. Like here's an idea. Here's what we might want to do. And Stafford just uses that to get a better deal. Okay. Fine. What did it cost us? Nothing.
Yeah.
And the possibility of getting a great quarterback.
One of the better quarterbacks in the league, you have to put your best foot forward. I was watching Rich Eisen's show, and he was saying he had a bit where he was doing the more common rumors that he was hearing at the combine in the combine week. And one of the rumors was that the Raiders and the Giants were both, it was legit. It wasn't like just a smokescreen. Mm-hmm. The Raiders hit the number for Stafford, no problem. The Giants actually hit the number and the compensation that the Rams were looking for. That's why they got together so fast and said, okay, we got to get this done. Because if we don't, we have to figure out what we want to do. Do we want to trade him because the Giants are giving us what we're asking for, and they're giving Stafford what he wants money-wise? Okay. So let's just figure out what we want to do. Let's sit down and figure out, do you really want to be here? Do you really want to leave? And if you want to be here, let's figure something out. The reason why it got done so quickly with the Rams and Stafford was because the Raiders and the Giants were genuine teams and suitors. And it was a possibility that if maybe one word was said wrong or taken wrong in that meeting between Stafford and the Rams, then he probably could have been dealt.
And now we don't have to try to defend Kelly Stafford, which is a plus.
She is kind of hot.
She's kind of hot, but she's looking for heat, and it's going to come her way. Little Havana, with 2 A's. You pay taxes, on game checks based on tax laws of the state the game is played. So only home games in Las Vegas and games played in other states without taxes. So we're talking about how Matthew Stafford, you want to come to Nevada because there's no state tax. Look, that is true. But also, where do big contracts and players normally get their money these days? Signing bonus, which is taxed in the state that you're in. These guys that are making tens of millions of dollars are buying real estate, businesses, investments in the state they're in. Nevada is a tax-free state. So no, it's not like, only half their games will be here, and so it's not that big of a deal. It's like, no, it's got long-standing consequences and repercussions. Your signing bonus, which some of these are $40, $50 million, right? If you're in California, that's 17% of that's evaporated right away. Nevada, you keep it. And then all your home game checks, not an issue. And then all the other businesses and other things you invest in and all the things you spend your money in the state you're in is saved. So let's not diminish the value of being in a non-state income state of Nevada.
For sure, man. I was listening to a story from Marcellus Wiley was telling a story about when he got paid with the Chargers. He got drafted by the Bills, played a few years, then he got a big free agent contract with the Chargers. And he said when that first big wire hit for his contract, he can tell when people got the wire hit because they showed up with like mink coats and like new jewelry. Like you could tell like when the wires hit the bank. And so they're just not they're not any different from college guys when the FAFSA comes in.
Yep. They're like the
books with like a full leather suit.
They're like the guys from Goodfellas after they rob the airport, showing up in pink Cadillacs.
It's in her mother's name. It's okay.
It's okay. Last one. Jeremiah Rose, 4681. My daughter hates sports. My wife, when she watches NFL, is a Bears fan. Not so much since the Bears fired Lovie Smith. She said she'll try watching this year, though. That just leaves me the Lone Ranger of Raiders fans in my house. I feel like as the Windbag family, we need to find a way to get Mrs. Jeremiah Rose on board with the Raiders. I'll tell you what worked with my wife. It won't work this season unless she's got a different type. But when Darren Waller joined the Raiders, all of a sudden, Mrs. Clifford was very into watching games. It's not because he was a 6'4" tight end that ran like a gazelle. It's because he was a handsome fella.
I think it was a 6'4", light-skinned black dude with green eyes type of thing.
With $1 million smile.
$1 million smile.
Or in our case, an $80 million smile.
Yeah.
I think that's what it was. That's just an option. That's a way to get the wife involved. It worked for mine. My wife's also that way. She's wired that way. Maybe yours isn't. But just telling you, it works in the Clifford house.
There's options, you know?
No.
There's no one way. Like Spy Tech said, there's no one way to build a team. There's no one way to get this to happen. So, you know, just try a couple things out. Maybe leave a roster or a press book out with some pictures of the players out there.
Yeah. Let her pick out the one she likes.
Some bathroom reading.
Ever watch the combine? They're all just in like tights and tank tops anyway. Hopefully we draft.
Oh my God. You remember when Chris Jones' dick fell out? God damn, dude.
I didn't pick up pole vaulting after that.
God damn. And he even said, my dick fell out. He was, okay, so for those of you who don't know, so Chris Johnson from the Queefs, right? When he was doing his 40, he was wearing these like really short, like spandex shorts to run in. And maybe he's about a third of the way down, and his whole junk, I'm talking his freaking dick and balls, fall out of one of the pant legs, right? Mm-hmm. One of the short legs. And he just does a belly flop, right? And he reaches down and tucks everything in. And then he walks over to one of the coaches in full mic like range and says, my dick fell out. and then the NFL Network shows a replay on the broadcast. Oh my God.
First off, how perfect the last name just worked out too perfect. And two, I wonder if there's like an advanced metric for how much that hurts or helps your 40 time if your dick falls out. Because you'd think it would hurt your 40 time because you're less aerodynamic, you know? But when your dick's that size, you would think everyone seeing it would give you confidence. And now you're quite literally the big swinging dick. And then people are going to be like, holy shit. Dude. If your dick's that big, imagine it's blocking, you know?
I think it's on Daily Motion. You'll find it on YouTube. Yeah. You'll find it on Daily Motion, though.
This is the talk you won't get on Tape Don't Lie. And that's a good thing or bad thing. That's up to you guys.
So hilarious.
Right, that's it for us. Sorry we were a day late. 100% on me, not Soto. We'll make it up to you somehow. We always say that. We never do. We apologize. Then we'll go live or something next week. Sounds like Soto's work schedule is going to be moving around a little bit. Some good news with the Muay Thai gym. We'll let you know about that later. Yeah. And a lot of moving and shaking, right? A lot of free agents. We got our own free agents we got to sign. Combines wrapped up.
Hey, man, look. By the time we come by next week, free agency is going to be open.
It's going to be fun.
12th. It's
going to be big time.
Yeah.
We'll almost for sure go live between now and then.
If there's a big one, yeah, we got to.
We're doing it. Until then, knock on wood if you're with me. Hey, you made it to the end of our video. Great job. I know you want more. Go ahead and click the next video. And if you're feeling crazy, go ahead and subscribe.